upgrade my software.
On your internal hard drive. We kind of, because that's what I have with Carl's Cup of Wisdom, is more about grounding and having a good deep cuppa. Drink it in and let it seep into your soul. Yeah. And now it's about the cups of wisdom. I've done hundreds of them. Is like we're upgrading the software on our internal hard drive. And a lot of it we need to install from here.
Yes, install some new hardware. We're live. We're live, by the way, on Facebook.
Grounding and having a good deep cuppa.
Yeah, sorry, I'd got you running on both screens. That was tripping me right out. Oh dear.
What's going on?
Like, what the hell is happening? Right,
what's happening?
So we're live on Facebook now, which is lovely. So good afternoon.
Lovely. Yeah. It's Magic Monday with a wonderful Wendy. Magic. As magic as we can make it. As magic as we can make it with the dynamics.
Exactly. Magic Mondays with my warm hand warmer.
There you go.
No one can see. It's great. I'm sat here with like a blanket under the desk, like 2 hands on a hot water bottle. It's not really cold in England at all. Hey not? Leslie, how you doing? We got Leslie's on already straight away. So,
hey Leslie.
Magic Mondays. Today it is about awakening and enlightenment, but the Great Awakening.
What it means.
Hi Sean. Oh Sean, I've got to give you a call. Sean, I've not forgotten you. I've forgotten to.
Yeah, so what is the Great Awakening? I want us to give our perspective on what is this Great Awakening that people are talking about,
Yeah, what does it mean? Because there's so many different definitions of it, isn't there? So Carl and I are going to share what it means to us and then just have a general chit chat about it, Carl. Hey.
Absolutely. Well, for me, and I've put some videos together about the Great Awakening. For me, I look at the fact that we are so powerful within. Our human technology that I feel is upgrading now, and people are starting to install, which is moving from the head, the old software, the fear, the amygdala, back to the heart, means you've got to install the bright response heart software.
Yeah.
And really get out of your head. So getting out your head and getting off your head is doing it from a vibrational perspective of raising your vibration naturally.
Yeah.
And I know that through the club scene in the late 80s. We all got off our heads, but we were going somewhere from a cosmic perspective. But the Great Awakening to me, and I want to share my own experience on when I did wake up around 1985, 86 at the age of 17. 18 is a greater awareness of this power that we're on this ball hurtling and spinning through space, this micro, that we're in a universe, a solar system where there is this universe, this electromagnetic universal energy and flow. It's electromagnetic that we're all connected to, but we've been so disconnected.
Everywhere. It's everywhere. It's in everything.
Absolutely. Dr. Wayne Dyer calls it source. People call it God. It's spirit. And it's absolutely, it runs through everything, through plants, through animals.
The power of this stuff, just for people watching, when me and Carl talk about this universal energy, it is what manifests everything into material. This is universal energy, this is universal energy. Everything around you, there's no space in space. Everything is interconnected.
Absolutely. And so the Great Awakening is now having a greater awareness that we're now awake. We're moving from the head into the heart. We're feeling, sensing and being in this world, in this universe, and we know things are shaking. We know things are shifting. And we've got to be able to, the challenge between the instincts, the human man, the freeze, the flight and the fight, and I call it the left brain. Conditioning, because the right brain's more connected to the heart, is that in being in that 5 sensory perspective, belief that from a 5 sensory perspective, like I put in one of my posts, if you see it you can believe it, but belief, like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, can have a certain doubt, but when you know it through intuition, that's guided me throughout my life, being in surrender and co-creating, Wendy, co-creating from nothing. co-creating through that energy and that currency and that dynamic to live from the heart and just go out, and the right things, attractor patterns, because you're more in your heart and you're living and you're present, you're in the moment like a child that plays. You're
it's
in
more
that
the feeling, Carl, isn't it? Because I mean, I remember growing up with a saying in my family, which was believe nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see. And all of these old sayings, they come from somewhere, and they do have a lot of weight in them. They didn't just come out of nowhere. And that is because we have more than sight and sound as perceptual filters, you know, as senses. I mean, they're up to about 21 different senses now, aren't they? If you look at them in depth, you know, you have all these finer different little modalities of sense. And I think we covered this last time. I was speaking to someone who's a neuroscientist, and I said to him, it's amazing, you know, that we know sort of 50% of the power of what the brain can do. And he laughed at me. And he said, when do we only know 5%?
Yeah.
5% of the power of this thing.
That's it. And if you think about that, Wendy, 5% means you don't have. So a great awakening is a greater awareness, and then a self-awareness to connect the dots. To upgrade, to collect the right data. So when you think of the brain, like we said, in the heart, and the heart center, the fountain of youth, as Joe Dispenza talks about, and Greg Braden, who are awesome, is that we've been living in a low frequency. We've been on that 5th century of mainstream. And I'm not saying the whole of mainstream is wrong. You can't beat David Attenborough taking you on a journey into the oceans.
Exactly.
But when it comes from a news perspective, when it comes from accessing information and being informed, that can be like a washing machine. And that was something I got out of at a young age.
Is it actually, Carl, while we're on that subject, quickly, if we can bounce a little bit, vibration, so understanding energy and vibration is really important to any transition.
Because energy, frequency, vibration.
When people understand the frequency that different emotions have, and different language has, everything has a frequency. So if you're talking negative talk, you're vibrating at a very low frequency, which means your body, your immune system, is more vulnerable to illness and disease. You're more vulnerable to even feel even worse. You also, on the attraction side of things, if you're vibrating at a really low frequency, you attract that to you. So you're emotions, to see it, feel it, hear it from others. So
emotions, Wendy, emotions are like magnets. They attract patterns, and we attract like in relationships, like attracts like, but from an energy, frequency and vibration, an easy way to put it is, at the moment, with everything that's going on with the fear and a certain mainstream perspective, an alternative perspective, through this inspiratology we have access to really lift and raise our vibration, which is what we're helping people to do, is we get a realization that fear is the old software. So our electromagnetic energy system, thoughts are electric, emotions are like frequencies. So when we're talking energy, frequency and vibration, what we're waking up to now is picking up the vibes in the atmosphere, which many of us who are empaths are intuitive with what's going on in the universe and feeling a shift, but then feeling from a ground perspective with people. We can feel if someone's on angry FM. We can feel if someone's on worried FM. We pick up vibrations. It's like a mum and a son, and you're attuned. You're attuned. So basically, that energy, frequency, and vibration that we give off is either on a low scale, and that's where Dr. David Hawkins, Power versus Forces, human calibration. So if we're looking at human calibration and energy, frequency, and vibration and the map of consciousness, a lot of people are under 200. They're in fear, shame, guilt, and it's very hard because you will raise your vibration through alcohol. What goes up must come down. You will get pharmaceutical drugs.
Through drugs, through exercise, through food abuse or under abuse.
Absolutely. So when we look at the neurochemicals in our biology, from endorphins through exercise, serotonin through food, dopamine through reward, which technology works on dopamine. These attention engineers who work from Las Vegas. So Facebook, it's all about likes, it's dopamine, but dopamine can be the reward of working through our challenges in life. And then obviously the main one's oxytocin, the connection that we have, the love.
The hug chemical, I call that one.
Absolutely. So those neurochemicals that we naturally have, a lot of people are unaware of that. So, you know, when you look at energy, frequency and vibration, if you look at the human biology of our neurochemicals, and then you look at our electromagnetic energy system, it's all one. And the vibration that we can go out. So I go out and I feel the vibration with people, and I go out and I spread the love. And, you know, you can just see what's going on at the moment. People are tired, they're emotionally withdrawn. So there's a fear, there's an anxiety. It's natural. That's what we've got to be forgiving of, because a lot of people can't see. Like we say, you've got 3 eyes, 2 to look with and 1 to see from within. And if you're disconnected and you're stuck in the left brain, when you're stuck in the monkey mind, the mind
all you're going to be thinking from that space is what's causing a problem.
Yeah.
And every time we ask the question to the system, what is the problem? It has to get, it's a yes machine. It has to give you an answer. So what it'll do, it'll go, hang on, I've been asked, what is the problem? And it will find it on the news. It will find it in your friend. It will find it in your partner. It will find it in the supermarket.
Absolutely.
And keep bringing in what the problem is until you become aware. And this is where the awakening starts.
Yeah.
Become aware that it's a yes machine and it wants to support you. And there are other options that are not a problem.
Absolutely. So that data,
vibration.
Yeah, and that data that's on our hard drive is what we've collected. So for me, when I woke up, was spending 9 years in an orphanage in a system and you know, going to Sunday school and religion and just a system and a structure, which I'm really grateful for because it gave me self-reliance. But then the education, as I call it, which is more left brain, filling the brain with information, getting stuck in the classroom of the mind, is that, you know, I realized around the age of 17, 18 that my perception was shifting. And I was looking around at seeing there was a lot wrong. The system has been broke for so long. It's not serving the greater humanity. It's serving circumstances and you know, just how you look at, you know, I work with young people and I've done for years. How do people, you're looking at a system going, how are people going to get on a property ladder? How are they going to go get a job, get a car, go on holidays? It's just that the minimum wage has gone down. And the financial output's gone up. There's just been a system in place for so long.
And there's no teaching though, Carl, of that. The one thing I found, I run something called a Make It Happen program.
Yeah.
In schools. And the whole purpose of this thing is to get kids to look at how to make their future happen.
Yeah.
And when I take them through the first thing, which is imagine you're 30 years old and whereabouts are you going to be when you're 30 years old?
Yeah.
You know, what house you're living in, what car you're living in, what job you're going to be doing, what friends you're socialising, where you're going to be shopping, all these sorts of things. When I ask them about that, and then I say to them, right, now let's put some money around it. How much does all that stuff cost? How much do your bills cost every week? How much is a mortgage going to cost? They have got no idea. They have no concept. How do you pay a bill? How do you open a bank account? You know, how do you pay your council tax? All of these things, all of the practical stuff that children really need to start building a balanced life, you know, how to build stuff, mend stuff, cook, you know, clean, how to use a mop and bucket. It sounds bloody ridiculous.
Common sense.
All of these things are not being taught. They're really not. Just going to clarify. Hi, Gary, if you're still watching, we're not talking about religion.
Yeah. So, you know, when you talk about that, so talking about education is that, you know, working in schools for all the years I have done and talking to kids about reaction and response being a choice, that you know, we're experiencing the world through our senses, and a lot of the information that's coming in, if your left brain is totally consumed with information, especially with technology now, we cannot process the excessive that's coming in. But if you're going through school and you're not in your right brain, which, you know, absorbs sensory information, if you're not in that, you're going to grow up more in the left brain program rather than a whole brain program of feeling, sensing, and being. So you would have logic, but you would also be rational as well. So teaching emotional awareness and in heartful minds in schools has never really been.
No, emotional intelligence is one thing that's totally lacking. And like you say, when the kids are in the left brain processing unit, that's when we're getting all of these problems on the social media, you know, not good enough. They don't believe in themselves. They don't feel worthy enough. They're constantly comparing themselves to other people, and they're getting serious emotional problems.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we weren't going down this space, but I did a brief survey of one of the schools I worked for on the year 8s, and 75% of these kids were having suicidal thoughts. They were self-harming. They were depressed or anxious. 75% of these kids, Carl, and that is through the schooling system and the, you know, the, like you say, the lack of emotional intelligence, the lack of resilience. You know, I hate that word, to be honest, resilience, because it's changed so much over the years anyway. But the lack of self-awareness, of self-control.
Well, the self-awareness goes back to what we're talking about: great awakening, greater awareness, self-awareness, coming home from the head back to the heart, and realizing that the years we spend in education, information, inspiration, is that are we stuck in that left brain, the old caveman software, fear, freeze, flight, or fight? And it's created a lot of cognitive dissonance through the very channels we're communicating now. You can see it. The left wants to bully. The left thinks it's right. A great book by Christopher Gilchrist, The Master and the Emissary, which is about the left and the right brain and behavior. And when you look at the process of kids not being in their heart minds, the heart mind intelligent, because they're not moving the body, a lot of it's because of excessive information. So how that worked for me going through the system, Wendy, was I'd spent 9 years in an orphanage being an assistant. I spent, at 15, I came out the orphanage to go home to live with my mum and my stepdad. I had no real skills, but I tell you what, I was like, I just wanted to go like that to the system. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I do not want any more of this information. I was in such a state of being consumed with the world of information and language that I went and on an experience. And when I went through my emotional breakdown, it was a conflict between the head and the heart won, because I was a mover and a groover. So for me, my breakdown was I needed to shut down. So if you look at this screen we're on now, the screen is like our conscious mind. If we put the lid down and switch it off and switch it back on, we can see everything on the top. But our subconscious, what drives us, subconscious, we can't see it, the hard drive, we can't see, and we've collected all that data throughout our education. And if we're not supported and guarded and inspired and in spirit, a lot of us get stuck in the matrix of life. We get numb-dumbed, desensitized, and we don't realize.
Then you end up in a job that you hate, whereas work should be joy, you know. And I think what you're saying really is very true. I mean, children, as far as I'm concerned, I was pretty much similar. So by the age of 15, my head was hurting at school. I was done. I was a bit of a pain in the backside for the teachers as well, to be honest. But I was a very practical kid. You know, I liked car mechanics. I liked sport. That was me. Leave me alone. Let me go outside. And I think really the education system should be of a choice of what the children want to do. We shouldn't be educating kids under 7 anyway, because they're not consciously aware. They should be having fun, and they should be doing practical stuff. You know, learning how to build things, play outside, learn about the trees and the birds and the insects and, you know, that sort of side of life. And then when the brain starts developing conscious awareness, then start wandering into what do you want to learn? Practicalities, your basic maths and English. And then what do you want to learn? What have you got an interest in, kids? You know, and if you want to learn this, do this. If you want to stop it, let's do this. And people will say, well, that's not practical for a system. But I think it is practical. And I think it is something that could be. I think
you create the balance, Wendy, between the left and the right brain. You keep people moving, you keep them active. That's why we have brain gym in schools, activating schools where they do body breaks, they move the body. But you create the balance between the left and the right so that you're more in your heart and cognitively in your mind to be able to process. life experience to be able to feel inspired. Because with children are more in a theta state where they're not consumed by the external world of the matrix. They're in a theta state. And we look at brain waves, beta being on stress and alert, and then we move into alpha. Alpha is being more in that thoughts and flow.
Learning.
And then theta, the flow state is in between alpha and theta. But the alpha, we know with advertising, with the construct, we spend all these years up to our school getting this education, and then I fall off the edge of the world because my head was so weird. I was like that. I needed to move my body. But from my awakening, Wendy, came when I was a long distance runner at school, and I played football, soccer throughout the school years, and that was my buzz. That's what I look forward to. And then, through aggression, when I was on the streets and playing with certain teams, following leaving school and starting a new school, playing for school, is that I couldn't control my aggression. And that's when I went through the process of losing control of that aggression. The true test when you're playing sport is of your mental, emotional, and physical control. And that's where your strengths are, the three elements of inner strength. And I lost control. Then I lost my outlet, my release. And I lost my will and energy to train. The confidence came down, and then the past caught up with me. When the past caught up with me, that's when I went through depression, because that was real. My body stopped moving, so I stopped rebooting, recycling. And then when I went through the breakdown, and this is what I write about in my book, the breakdown was really I needed to shut down. And when I shut down, this system, like a laptop, when I rebooted, I installed the heart software. And the heart software was me getting my running. When I was going through a night where I couldn't sleep, I got up, put my trainers on, I went for a run. I reactivated the boy that felt free.
I think this is one thing as well, Carl, that people don't do enough of. So in a lot of the therapy I work in, I can help recode the past. So we can do that, get the fires out so the fires are no longer burning and they can't be triggered and fired up again. It's the practical side of things. We've turned into very sedentary beings.
Absolutely.
And the body is meant to move. Emotion, as we both know, energy and motion, that's all emotion.
Absolutely.
So if you want to feel better, move. It's quite a simple equation, but a lot of people will, they hear it, they say, yeah, and they don't do it. And the thing is,
because as well, Wendy, is we're in this is what we're in. And a lot of us don't realize we're stuck in our heads. We're in the old software, the caveman. We're just in a world of information. We're thinking, we're feeling, and we're doing. We're told how to think, feel, and do through a keyboard instead of getting out, feeling, sensing, and experiencing. You take your knocks, you get up, you learn, you reboot.
And that's the lack of, that's the lack of resilience, isn't it, that we have with a lot of the population at the moment, is that when they take a knock, they stay down because they don't realise that it's just part of a process of building.
Absolutely.
And that reconnection, I mean, for me, Carl, I don't think I really ever wasn't connected because I grew up to not pay any attention to authority. So not that my parents were strict. We had
old school.
But I grew up in a pub. So as you treat everyone like you're treated. So if someone was rude to me, they wouldn't have me being nice to them. I mean, it's a bit different nowadays. I'd use different language, but in those days, I'd give it back to them. And so this is why teachers and everything found it hard with me, because they would shout at me and they get shouted back at. And they couldn't understand. They're like, you need to respect me. And I go, well, what about you respecting me first? You were confident. Comes around. And so I never really stood under anybody in that sense, which meant that I think when I become more awake, it was after the accident and everything I went through, I slowly then started waking up a bit more to there's more to this universe. And sitting in this space all day and, having to have, not that I've ever, I mean, all my friends will tell you, I've never been one to have the right car, the right clothes, the right, my fashion sense is just not, it's non-existent. I just wear what I'm comfortable in wearing. But it just was that connecting back to nature. I grew up in nature. My parents, everything we did involved nature. So I think for me, I went through a period where I'd sort of disconnected And my awakening was reconnecting and being able to sit and stare at the sky and wonder about what's up there, and, you know, start expanding and opening. And then when you do that and you reconnect into the field, as we call it, when shit happens like what's happening now, you just know it's fundamentally wrong. Because you have an inner knowing that actually we're being lied to, stuff isn't right. And when you can follow that internal guidance, I mean, I follow it for everything in life, Carl. I have a saying, my friends will ask me a question and I'll go, hang on a minute, I'll just run it through my system. And they chuckle. They go, oh, leave her a minute, she's just running it through her system. Because you ask me a question and I let it go through all the processes and I go, what reaction does
electromagnetic processing machines, that's what we are.
Do I want it or do I not? And if I get a hit of anxiety or anything, I go, interesting, maybe I need a bit more information. So I get more information, then I run it through again. I go, no, I'm still feeling anxiety, not doing that one, not for me, thanks for the offer. And the thing is, the more you tune in to that, what I've found now, especially over, I think probably about the last 10, I'm just looking at my certificates, about last 10 years, since I met a particular woman called Catherine Temple, who's an enlightened NLP master trainer and lots of other stuff. But she really, really did immerse me into energy and really wake me up to the power of like source energy that is all around us and all encompassing of everything. And since that point, I think I've just been getting more and more and more in tune with myself and more in tune with everything around me and fully understanding my thoughts are asking for something connected to feeling to come towards me. If I'm asking for anxiety, I'm going to get a shitstorm of anxiety hit me. If I'm asking for peace and calm, I'm going to get that come to me. You know, so whatever you're thinking and feeling, you're going to have it coming in. So utilize it.
Absolutely. But, you know, from a heart perspective, like we are electromagnetic processing machines, from a heart perspective, that's where we manifest. And something has a resonance. That's why for me, I always have a trust. I trust the process I'm in because I've been in it for too long. It's never let me down. The universe has always given me what I need. If it's a lesson, if it's stripped me down and said, go find your way, I found my way. So, you know, living from the heart and being in the heart and being in response is the key. But what happens is from an information perspective, the anxiety and other things is we get stuck in our heads trying to process that something that your body's saying it's not true.
It's not.
BS alert, BS alert. But when we look at what's going on at the moment, Wendy, with everything, with the news, and I've not watched the television for over 16 years. I've not drunk alcohol for over 17 years. I'm all about raising the vibration, staying in the man body. And like I say in my book is that, you know, energy above, energy below, activate your flow. And movement's so important for that. But you know, when you sit like a tree, you can feel the infinity. When you look into the sky, there's an endless supply. We are all connected to this process. And what people struggle with or are challenged by is the overthinking mind. Like I said to you, is it? And you can't wake up if you're not willing to move to the heart center and realize we're so much more in that experience. And that's what I did. Getting back to my awakening in 1985, 86 was I rebooted, I got running again, and I started to, I installed the Bright Response software instead of the fear. And then what I did was I got excited about life. I opened everything up and I went on an adventure at 18, 19 and traveled the world. But for me, that was when I went through that process. I needed to disperse a lot of unnecessary information on my hard drive. And that's when I had the breakdown because I needed to realize I was in this, I'd expanded into something greater than the physical body. I was out there and it was like telepathic. There's so many gifts that we have. I was seeing the future. I was having a Jesus act. There was all sorts going off that would send people over the edge. For me, I moved through it and I cleared and I grounded. And when I started to ground, I started to integrate life experience. And grounding it means I'm making sense of it from a thinking to feeling to sensing to embodying it. So when we embody, we're empowered. We're in our body, we can feel it. Like I say, when people plant seeds, I know intuitively when I'm connecting with people, you know, in the conversation, I feel we pick up the energy, we pick up the frequency, and we
or
pick
on
up
the other side as
vibration.
well, you feel when they're disconnected.
Yeah.
It's at the moment, I'm wondering as well, because I think the one thing for me, Carl, I seem to have lost the ability to feel.
Yeah.
So I'd got into a space where, you know, if for example, 20 years ago, if I'd have tried to do any Joe Dispenza or Greg Braden heart coherence, trying to generate some love in my heart, you know, I've found it for years and years and years to generate those type of high vibrational emotions. I just felt emotionally numb.
Yeah, because the heart wall, we can develop a heart wall, which means we're blocked and we're not opening because it's easier to stay in here. When it gets comfortable in here, and we need to move to here, which we do with a healing, which is like clearing your hard drive of old stuff. You go through the pain, you go through the emotion, the trauma. I've experienced it where my body's been shaking at a seminar where I'm going through stuff, and then I've gone through it and I've felt the relief. I didn't even know it was there.
There's
that
so
came
many
from childhood.
And there's so many people walking about now. I mean, you know, the understanding of our childhood is so powerful. What is actually stored up in that space, and there's so many people walking about now in life who I think are emotionally numb, that don't really know how to feel unless they're on drugs, you know, taking alcohol or doing excess of something, you know, with
that's the low frequency vibration, power versus force. You can look online, you can see how you've got to elevate your vibration, and how anger was the one that propelled me. So when I rebooted and installed the bright response, moving from the amygdala, the reactive stuck mind, freeze, flight, or fight, when I installed the bright and went on the journey, and that's what I did. I went on the journey and I moved the body, and I started to realize that, you know, that shift and that aggression and that dynamic, that intensity I had in the physical body, I could utilize it.
Yeah.
That's how my work came about. And that's why boxing was my greatest shift. And that's getting in an environment, moving, feeling, sensing.
Exactly the same for myself. After the accident, the one thing that got me back on my feet was frustration. And anger. It was such a driving force that I was not going to just lay down and take anything. And every
you've got to be able to transform it.
Yeah, but it took me years. I'm telling you now, Carl, it took years to transform that, to understand that now actually that's driven me to the point where I've needed it and I no longer need it. Now I can transmute that energy into a different form of energy.
Absolutely.
Now get the other results, because I didn't realize it was a great driving force, but it's also very harmful for the body in too much excess because of the chemicals it runs.
Yeah.
So I got to a certain point using frustration and anger, pushing me like a wave, you know, to just keep going. And then it was like, right, I no longer need this now. And it was interesting. I just had to like a little switch flick.
Well, you know, I see it, Wendy, is it's a negative fuel. It's an energy. It's a fuel that needs using up. So if you look at the body being the vehicle, it's no good sat in your body as a cortisol and in your sympathetic nervous system. You need to use it up.
Yeah.
That's why when I started developing my work in 97 after boxing, the mind is like a sponge, soak it up, use it up. I was working in security, which I had 16 years experience of working in security. I always use that one. I started to look at how the mind was like a sponge, but the mind body is a mind body, subconscious sponge, mind body. And it's like people don't realize that, you know, when you're running on a low frequency and vibration, you can elevate. But you've got to be able to plug into those dynamics, which is what I share in my 5-step system.
And make it persist. You've got to
release.
Yeah, and it's the persistence and the consistency of doing it.
Yeah.
If you want to change something, you know, I think this is why some people, I mean, Yoda, I know Yoda's not real, or it might be in another dimension. Yeah, Yoda, you know, don't try, just do. Yeah. It's one of those things that life is a daily experience. It doesn't just happen, you know, one day and then it stops. It's a daily experience where you get to do again.
Yeah.
And do again. And I always say to people, every second of every day, you get a choice to stop that behavior and change it. And the more you do that, the more your system will learn a new way of being anyway.
Absolutely.
That becomes your default. So if you've got a default down here that's low in fear and anger, you know, every bit of work you put in raises your default if you keep doing it persistently and consistently, which then means when you get to a certain level, if you have a meltdown, you ain't going to hit the floor again because your new default is now here. It's not down here.
Absolutely.
By that consistent work, you can keep yourself in the higher states by just daily processes.
And the reality, so for me, you know, installing the break response and constantly upgrading, moving from reaction to response, because you realize that what the mind can think and do is different to what you can feel, sense, and be, that you're processing internally, that, you know, through movement and with boxing and then jiu-jitsu, the master of movement and flow, we activate the three brains. The three brains is our electromagnetic energy system. The mind is just the observer, like riding a bike. If it learns something new, it needs to think. Same with jiu-jitsu. You can't be caught thinking about your moves. It's on your hand grab.
In the head.
You're learning. So when you look at the three brains, the gut is our identity. The gut. Instinct, but that's where a lot of fear and anxiety can be, connecting to our sympathetic, and parasympathetic is our restorative part of the nervous system. So this electromagnetic energy system, the three brains that we have, which I show in the book, you think of then the sixth sense activating, you're more powerful than you can ever imagine, because you're not in a state of fear, you're in a state of just doing. You've surrendered because you know and you trust the universe that you're in. And
I think it's that knowing and trusting, isn't it? Because we're in the press a button and get it now generation. And everybody gets everything on tick. No one works for anything anymore. So, you know, I grew up where it's, if you haven't got the money, don't buy it. So
that's the kind of ego materialism construct of want instead of needing.
And so when people want everything now, they're not willing to put the work in to get, you know, they think, actually, I'll go and see a therapist once or something, or go and have one session of boxing or whatever it is. I'll go to the gym once and then I'm going to look like I've got a foundation.
Foundation. You've no foundation to know who you are. And in that, when you make mistakes, they stay with you. They stay on your hard drive. You're not willing to look inside and go, what do I need to change? And like I did a cup of wisdom. Who I was is not the man I am today.
No.
Who I was before, and all of these identities, and you can say the ego and being a doorman and being that's not who I am. It's who I am today, present in the moment. And that's, you know what I'm saying, this ego construct of identity. We are what we've got. We are our reputation. This is the mind construct, and this is what technology's taken over. So these attention engineers.
Well, this is the media as well. So everything that you're watching, this is, people realise every advert you watch is programming you with something. It's either giving you a want for something or teaching you've got a lack of something. You know, whether it's personal or stuff or whatever, but it's doing one or the other, and they're not positive. There's not any adverts out there that are there to give you something, you know, of good benefit for yourself, as far as I'm concerned, from my map of reality, from watching. I do watch TV because I do like a bit of Star Trek. But I like also, I pay attention to the adverts, but I pay attention with awareness and go, wow, what interesting language they're using there.
Absolutely. Subliminal messaging. But like I say, subliminal messages, hidden images. But Richard Brody, Virus of the Mind, 1996, thought infections and mind virus. This is the same system that's been playing out, the science of the memes. So people, getting back to the think, feel, do is the five sensory, it's the head, it's been taken over by technology, and it's the left brain. The left brain is where the overthinking, reactive ego man that wants more, can't get enough is, and the advertising. It all plays into the stuck in our heads concept.
Like you say,
you're not going to wake up.
The dopamine hits that people get from this. I mean, if you guys could actually understand what's going through your brain every time someone likes your post or puts a comment, or you know, how many times do you guys check this thing throughout the day who has social media? You know, for me, this thing gets looked at in the morning, lunchtime, when we finish, it'll have one more look to check my messages, and then it goes in the kitchen on charge.
And when you think of this, Wendy, when you think of this, it's a very powerful tool. So when we look at the conscious man being the screen, and when we actually install the software, when we know what's on the hard drive, we're all running a program. When we look at our phone, how quick we have access to, but the access that I have now to tap into Joe Dispenza and get some really nourishing inspiratology.
Yes.
It's whether you're still running an old program based around dysfunction, based around certain elements that don't serve us. This will keep you in the mind loop.
Yeah.
So you can use it, but you know the greatest thing that we're unaware of is, and I don't want to go on about this, is the electromagnetic frequencies, man-made technology. That's what this is. And you know, with the Great Awakening, all the new technology, if you can imagine the new technology and the Tesla and the technology that's been around forever is coming in.
You know what I'm waiting for? Just to throw this out there, these Medipods.
Yeah, they look awesome.
I'm like that. Give me a Medipod. I want one in my house. Yeah, I can't wait.
But the reality is, Wendy, this technology has been around forever. It's just been that the patents are going to get released apparently. But so you imagine now. So if we look at the Great Awakening, and if you're still stuck in a 5-sensory program mainstream, and you've not been looking at alternative views and getting your information, because we've had it here. I stopped watching television around 97 when I got one of those big plug-in computers.
Yeah. And
then I got a laptop, and that was it. I knew what I wanted to access. I wanted to look at healing. I wanted to look at seminars. I utilized it. And that's the beautiful thing, is that this inspiratology takes us beyond. If we use this technology without the man-made technology that's affecting our nervous system, the electromagnetic frequency, because I'm electrosensitive, and I told you that I have. And I've done
same here. I wear something as well.
And organite.
I've got organite pendants hanging on my bed, next to my bed every night. Just as a tip, guys, as well. So let me just say hello to a couple of people. Maria, how you doing? Sean and Mark. As a tip, guys, when I go to bed, I pull out the plug on my Wi-Fi, and I put my phone on aeroplane mode.
Yes.
The reason being that you get less electromagnetic interference in your environment while you're trying to sleep. So
absolutely. It's simple.
It takes 2 seconds. I pop the plug out of the Wi-Fi, put the phone on airplane mode, and the phone stays in the kitchen.
But do you know what that does, Wendy? Do you know what that does? It creates body voltage in our electromagnetic free brains, sixth sense, connected to a universe, an electromagnetic universe. It creates body voltage that keeps us on a low frequency because we don't realize it's creating fatigue, agitation, and this is what's affecting mental health as well. This is what studies show, and I don't say anything that's 100%. I just put it out there for giving people information, connect some dots. But this technology that we've had for years is I started sourcing tools many years ago, and I felt the difference. I felt the protection. So in reality, I want to talk about the four. If we're looking at waking up, the Great Awakening is having a greater awareness of what is around us with our human biology and human technology. Our self-awareness is to come home, which is moved from here back to the heart, and to realize the technology we've got, the Earth's frequency, which this technology is disconnecting us. We're getting stuck in our heads because we're whirling around in the loop, the mind loop. The Earth's frequency, human resonance, which is the same resonance as alpha brainwaves when we're in creative performance. So you think of the Earth, energy number one.
Well, it's going up at the moment as well. The human resonance is whacking through the roof at the minute.
Yeah, because the planet's moving.
If you guys are feeling a little bit wonky in your heads and stuff, it's probably nothing to do with the 5G. It's probably down to
the shift.
The human resonance at the moment is shifting literally daily. I keep feeling like I'm underwater, Carl. Like I've got, you need to blow your ears when you go scuba diving.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think with what's happening there is on an ether level, on dimensions, which we have people who come in and channel, and you know me, I'm an alien. I like being off planet. I know I'm a cosmic traveler because I've been out there a lot of years, but I'm very grounded at integrating what I know and sharing it with people. So when we look at what's going on at the moment, shaking up, that is when I talk about the upgrade of the fear and what's going on from an energetic energy frequency vibration. The planet's moving into a whole new part of the solar system, but it's shaking people up. So in shaking people up, you'll have the choice to wake up, or if you can't see it and you're watching, you know, television every day, or you're plugged into the wrong stuff, you're going to be kept in that state of fear. So the greatest challenge we've got at the moment is the belief, our belief system from the head and what we know in here, in the knowledge box, being challenged by our intuition, a deeper knowing. So that deeper knowing, more and more people are waking up.
A moment on that one as well. It's that thing of, I mean, constantly, if you think about, we're not going into this space today, but all what we know about, and a lot of the guys watching this now, the child trafficking, the adrenochrome, the paedophilia rings, you know, the tunnels, all of this stuff, I knew a little bit about for years and years and years. You know, but the more that's unpicking itself, and you're finding about all these high profile people on the planet where you had these belief systems, these people are like TV gods. Do you know what I mean? They're always doing good. And then all of a sudden they're at the top of some of the worst rackets on the planet that's now being unpicked. That cognitive dissonance is really painful. And I've been through some proper shifts this year, just with that, you know, going, hang on, that's totally against any belief system I've ever had in my head. But remember, in the word belief, you've got a big fat lie right in the middle anyway. And, you know, so every belief should be questioned because of that. The word in the middle of it is a lie.
You know, exactly. You know, with me, Wendy, is I'm kind of down the middle because of the positivity and the work. And I just feel there's a dark energy that's moving, and we're moving through that shift, and low frequency, and that energy is fear. It's keeping people in fear.
And it's getting them to move out of it.
So when you look at the lid has come off, I've worked in anger management for over 23 years, and you know, through personal experience teaches wisdom. But when I see what I see going on in the world, and from a perspective of the reactivity and the technology and everything that's going on, there's no surprises. I told you, I was talking to kids in '97 about Grand Theft Auto, about gangster rap music, and the lack of processing that, and how people would be stuck in the anger, stuck without going through the process, because I processed and was constantly processed. I could show that through my expression, through the lightness of being able to share difficult things. And with what's going on at the moment, and you see, and if you plug into it, if you're unaware of you consuming it rather than observing it, the trauma program that's playing out, there's a lot of dysfunction that's playing out. It's like an old system.
Well, it's all like you say, it feels like it's
from the head to the heart.
It's surfacing because it needs to all shift. I mean, someone said to me the other day, we're moving into the age of Aquarius, and that is basically enlightenment. So, you know, these things, they're not going to happen overnight. But we were at the start. Well, I say we're at the start. This has been going on for hundreds of years, Carl, isn't it?
Yeah, but we had 2012. We're
sort of at the start of moving this now and shifting out of those lower energies. So what I would like to say, if we sort of finish off for the guys, what advice? So, you know, we have different processes that we use to stay awake and aware, and keep transitioning ourselves up again and moving out of the darker states, because we're human beings. Absolutely. They still wander in, and you have to shift them if you want. So what would you suggest to people as some handy tips and tools now, Carl?
What I would say, and I just want to say this before we finish, so when I talk about great awakening, a greater awareness and a self-awareness, that the technology that is coming in is, you know, from the Earth's frequency we have naturally, from the Tesla, which runs through all plants, animals and human beings, to the solfeggio. You can access solfeggio frequencies online, which means just laying and listening to a resonance, a heart frequency. You know, you look at the different frequencies for the higher energy centers, and then the like we said about organite, learning about energy and technology at the moment is the greatest key, because we are electromagnetic processing machines that are connected.
And we're moving to the next technological age as well, Carl. This is the other thing. I mean, I think we spoke about this last time. I was watching a Greg Braden webinar the other night, and he was showing you all the graphs of when technology changes, when we stop the old way and start another one. And we're literally at the peak where we're just about to drop off the old ways of technology, and all the new stuff's just about to come in.
The new stuff, when you talk about the med beds, which I've used for years, is Tesla. So Tesla, when you look back at Tesla and Edison and Tesla wanted to bring this free electromagnetic energy that we could source, but Edison wanted to bring in the electricity. The low man-made, so because it made money. So Tesla, a lot of things got shut down. A lot of technologies have been suppressed for a lot of years. And I feel and know that that's coming through now, that we've always had that technology. So if we look at Schumann for grounding, putting your feet on the earth, if we look at Tesla, being able to understand Tesla, and that Tesla energy is what flows through us. Solfeggio frequencies you can get on YouTube. You can listen to it, put it on in the kitchen while you're cooking.
Oh, they're lovely.
Get their frequency. And the frequencies, they're really powerful in just really kind of upgrading from a sensory perspective, how are you feeling, and healing. So solfeggio. And then the organite is atmospheric. So we're moving. I feel we're moving beyond this artificial intelligence that can potentially take over the planet. We have got a universe that is so powerful, that we're so powerful when we connect to it. It's called the flow. And that's what I'm writing about in my work. But what I would say, Wendy, is every day is people just live from your heart. And if you're stuck in your head, realize the difference when you're having these thoughts. When you're having these low energy thoughts of fear, move your body, go walk in the park, put your feet on the grass, do some movement, and you can get movement, holistic movement, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which brings us back into balance. It's like yoga. You don't have to go think that you got to go get a sweatband on.
You haven't got to jog 26 miles.
No.
Simple Tai Chi. Tai Chi is a lovely, gentle way of exercise.
But what is it, Wendy? What it is the tree of life. Feeling grounded like a tree is feeling strong and in response. That any storm, you can weather any storm that comes in. You don't react because you're up here. You're grounded and you know how to move and be flexible. So, the tree of life is key. So being able to realize that your legs are like your wheels, your body work, your mind is like your steering wheel. Get out the trunk, get in the driving seat and live from your heart and move.
And that's pretty much all I'd add to that. Is just that. It's, the vibration. I mean, Cheryl's just jumped on here as well, and Cheryl has a bioresonance machine.
Brilliant.
That stuff is bloody amazing.
It's unbelievable.
She does one session with you in person, and then you can just go away, and she turns the machine on, it picks you up like 20 miles away and does some work for you just through it's absolutely amazing. But I would say the same in one of our WhatsApp groups. Someone put something in the other day about sound healing. And I love sound healing. I love going to gong baths and things like that.
Absolutely. You can't beat a gong bath.
I love that. Just washing through. Yeah, get yourself a little singing bowl But I've got another friend who she is the most amazing, therapist when it comes to sound. And she uses, she's got so many different instruments and objects that make sound. And just laying in that space with her doing that, you feel like a totally different soul when you wake up from it.
Absolutely.
Your body feels different. Your thoughts are different, Well,
that's solfeggio. Scott Huckabee, he attuned his guitar to solfeggio. So when he plays, he heals. So when you think of the heart, the resonance, it's a ripple effect. That's what we're putting out every day. So when I go out, I want to spread the love, but I got to fill my cup. I got to keep the tree strong. I got to keep moving and flowing and not take this human experience too seriously.
Exactly. Because it is
That's
just
the
that
ego.
experience.
Have a meeting with yourself. Get grounded. Spread the love.
Have a little chat. I think that's pretty much the perfect place to leave it, guys. Just get into your bloody heart and send out love. I have an old trainer who used to say, you know, I just want to send love bombs.
Absolutely.
So people in harmony, just send them a love bomb. Stick a love bomb over there and stick one over there.
Absolutely.
The thing is, I remember someone else saying as well on one of our meditation groups, there was an experiment done years ago with mass meditations. It takes 7,500 people every day to meditate on love to raise the planetary vibration. There's 7.5 billion of us.
That's what I mean.
It only takes 7,500 people meditating from the heart every day,
putting that power out
to raise it.
So what's happening at the moment? So what is happening at the moment? We are transmitters and broadcasters, so we're giving and receiving, we're transmitting and receiving, in the electromagnetic flow. So what's happening at the moment? There is a planetary broadcast of love. People are realizing we need to move back from here to here. We've been stuck in here for too long. Technology's taken over, and we got to move back. The system needs to change, the language of everything. We need to move back to the heart. We need to live, respond, care for each other, find community, find our tribe. And that's how we connected, Wendy.
Through love, mate. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
It sounds weird because you're in Canada, but it was. We connected through love.
You get in touch and you feel a vibe and you check somebody out and you feel a vibe and you connect the dots. You know, like I say, is that you find your tribe. I came across the ocean to find my tribe here.
Yeah.
I write in my book about shipbuilding, relationships, and ownership being the key.
Yeah.
Apprenticeship is that we should learn more about ourselves through school. So we know who we are. Then we can own our ship. We can build it, and we build relationships, friendships, partnerships. We understand how to accept and access mentorship. Then we have leadership, and then I found the tribal ship. And you know where I went from the tribal ship? Onto the mothership.
I'll tell you what. We'll keep that one for next time, and I might chuck a friend in here as well who's watching at the minute because he loves the mothership.
I'm on the mothership.
Yes. Solfego. How do you spell that? Because Sean's just asked.
Solfeggio, Solfeggio, which is Feggio. Solfeggio frequencies, and you can get what you're looking for. But so today's chat is about the Great Awakening. What we feel in that, having a greater awareness and coming home into the heart, self-awareness, and living from here, which is what we're moving back to.
It pretty much all starts
from my perspective.
Yeah, you've got to become aware. You have to become aware first. If you want to change anything or connect into anything, you become aware of it first. And then when you're aware, you get a choice to or not. And so that's what we always say to everybody watching, you know, take everything we say with a pinch of salt. Go and try it for yourself. See how it works.
Research. Do your research. Your truth is your truth. We know there's a resonance behind truth. We can feel it. It's a vibration. It's a frequency. It's an energy.
Yeah, get back in the heart. Get back in this space, and you'll find everything becomes a lot easier and a lot more current.
And the reality is, Wendy, you can't pour it out if you don't fill your cup up.
No, exactly.
You've got to keep filling your cup up to pour it out, you know, onto people.
Right, guys, if you have any questions you want to ask us at all, please just stick them in the comments because Carl will be able to jump on that. We're going to bung this one on YouTube as usual. And my dog started kicking off out the front.
It's loving the podcast. It's loving it. It's like I'm on board with the love. The dog's going, I'm on board with the love.
Yeah, he's full of love. He's just like a big walking fluff ball. Right, so guys, we're sending big love bombs to you.
Absolutely.
We hope you enjoyed today, and we will be back again with some mothership meeting next time, I think.
Yeah, mothership. Yeah, let's talk about the mothership. Hey, and if you want to talk about the mothership, check out James Gilliland.
James Gilliland. There you go, guys. That's
James Gilliland, a SETI Ranch in Washington, D.C., where there's a mountain and a vortex. People go there from all over the world. That is ufology. Interesting.
Indeed. When this is all stopped and we can travel with no bloody quarantine, we can chip over there, Carl.
Yeah, teleporting, exactly. But that's what these conversations are, because healing is being able to connect. And I call this this is just upgrading. If
Yeah.
you move from reaction to response, the head to the heart, when you switch on and tune into what's greater, all we're doing is collecting data, and the truth in that will determine your resonance, your feeling, and your vibration.
Yeah. So just be aware, guys, of what data you're collecting.
Absolutely.
Turn the TV off. Turn the TV off. Put some beautiful music on.
Yeah.
Get connected in the heart.
I think if you watch television, Wendy, you got to be mindful of what. I can't watch the news because it's a mood killer. It's a mood killer.
It's painful.
It is painful, but we need the news. But where do we access? Where are we informed? That's the key. Information.
Yeah, and remember, guys, you have a choice of how you use these. Yeah. We use them for research, for beautiful things, for YouTubing, you know, good stuff when you're in the bath. So just be aware.
Podcast. Yeah, but that's how we met, through Inspiratology, the negatology, but through the Inspiratology, Wendy, I got to listen to people like yourself who I've never met on a podcast, and then connecting the dots with the light workers and like-minded people that are out there sharing the love, the passion, the wisdom. It's increasing.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to be part of on the mothership.
Same here on the mothership. We'll leave them with the mothership again. Right. Hi, Anastasia, and bye, Anastasia. So, guys, thanks for watching. Me and Carl will see you again soon. Take care for now. Loads of love to you, and have a cracking week.
Absolutely.